The sun beat down mercilessly on Virginia City, Nevada, turning the dusty street into a shimmering mirage. Sarah Mitchell stood outside the Silver Dollar Saloon, her fingers trembling as they clutched the last remnant of her former life, a folded piece of parchment stained with her father's blood. The mining map. 3 men inside were deciding her fate like she was livestock at auction. The girl's got nothing else, she heard her uncle's gruff voice through the thin walls. Take the map, Garrison. It's worth more than she'll ever be. Before she could flee, before shame could consume her entirely, a shadow fell across her path. Sarah looked up into eyes the color of storm clouds. A man so tall and broad-shouldered, he seemed carved from the mountains themselves. Dust from the trail clung to his dark shirt, and a week's worth of stubble shadowed his jaw. But it was his hands that caught her attention. Strong, scarred hands that had known hard labor, now reaching for the map she held. "Please," Sarah whispered, her voice breaking. "It's all I have. My father died finding that silver vein. If you take it, I have nothing to trade for." "I know who you are," the man interrupted, his voice like gravel and honey. "Ezra Mitchell's daughter. Your father was a good man." He glanced at the map, then back at her face, really looked at her, not through her like most men did. "This map doesn't belong in Garrison's hands, and neither do you." Before we continue with Sarah and this mysterious stranger's story, I'd love to ask you to take a moment to subscribe to the channel and leave a like on this video. Your support truly means everything and motivates us to bring you more quality content like this. I'm curious, where are you listening to this story from right now? "I don't understand," Sarah said, her green eyes searching his face for deception. She'd learned to expect cruelty from men, especially in Virginia City, where desperation made monsters of ordinary people. "Name's Cole Brennan," he said, folding the map without looking at it and tucking it into his jacket. "I own the Lucky Strike claim up in Gold Hill. Your father and I worked together before he passed. He made me promise something." Cole's jaw tightened, "Made me swear that if anything happened to him, I'd look after you. Didn't realize your kin would be so eager to sell you off." Sarah's throat constricted. Her father had mentioned Cole Brennan in his letters, the miner who'd struck it rich, who'd helped smaller prospectors when the mining companies tried to squeeze them out. "You're the one they call the King of Gold Hill. Don't believe everything you hear." A ghost of a smile crossed his weathered face. "But I keep my promises. You need work, I need someone to manage my household. My cook quit last month, couldn't handle the isolation. You want the job? It's yours. Room, board, and wages. No strings." "I'm not a charity case," Sarah said, lifting her chin, despite the hunger gnawing at her belly. She hadn't eaten a proper meal in 3 days. "I don't hire charity cases." Cole's storm gray eyes held hers. "I hire people who work hard. Your father said you kept the assay office books better than any accountant in 3 territories. Said you could shoot a rattlesnake at 20 paces. That the truth?" Despite everything, Sarah felt a flicker of pride. 25 paces. Papa taught me young." "Then we have a deal." Cole extended his hand like she was a business partner. Not a desperate woman at the end of her rope. "If Garrison comes looking for this map, he'll find me instead. That acceptable?" Sarah stared at his outstretched hand. In the span of 5 minutes, this man had offered her dignity when everyone else saw only an object to be used. Her fingers, calloused from months of washing other people's laundry, wrapped around his. His grip was firm but careful, like he was acutely aware of his own strength. "Deal," she whispered. Cole nodded once, decisive. "My wagon's at the livery. We leave in an hour. Bring what you can carry." As he turned to enter the saloon, no doubt to have words with her uncle and Garrison, Sarah called out, "Mr. Brennan?" He glanced back. The late afternoon sun, catching the silver threads in his dark hair. "Why are you doing this? Really?" Cole was quiet for a long moment, his gaze distant. "Because I know what it's like to have nothing, to be treated like you're worth less than the dirt under someone's boot." His eyes focused on her again, and Sarah saw old pain there, scars that ran deeper than anything visible. Nobody should feel that way, especially not Ezra Mitchell's daughter. The journey to Gold Hill took 3 hours by wagon, winding up through sagebrush-covered hills that glowed amber in the dying light. Sarah sat beside Cole on the bench seat, hyper-aware of his presence, the steady way he handled the reins, the quiet competence in every movement. He didn't try to fill the silence with empty conversation, and she was grateful. Her mind was still reeling from how quickly her life had changed direction. Gold Hill sat nestled in a canyon, and Cole's property sprawled across 5 acres of land that had been transformed from barren rock into something approaching civilization. A sturdy 2-story house stood at the center, built from timber and stone, with glass windows, real glass, not oiled paper. Behind it, she could see the mine entrance, currently sealed for the evening, and several outbuildings. Chickens pecked in a fenced yard. A vegetable garden, somewhat neglected but still producing, stretched along the south side of the house. "It's not fancy," Cole said, setting the brake, "but it's secure, solid." "It's beautiful," Sarah breathed. After weeks of sleeping in a boarding house room that smelled of mildew and despair, this looked like paradise. Cole helped her down from the wagon, his hands spanning her waist for the briefest moment before he released her and stepped back, putting proper distance between them. "I'll show you your room. You can settle in tonight. Work starts tomorrow at dawn, if you're agreeable." Sarah's room was on the 2nd floor, small but clean, with a real bed covered in a quilt that looked handmade. A washstand with a porcelain basin sat in the corner, and the window overlooked the canyon. It was more than she'd had in months, more than she'd dared to hope for. "There's a lock on the door," Cole said from the doorway, not entering. "You use it. This is your space. I don't come up here unless you invite me or the house is on fire." Sarah turned to face him, studying this man who spoke of boundaries like they were sacred. "You really mean that? I don't say things I don't mean." Cole's expression was serious. "You're safe here, Miss Mitchell. I give you my word." "Sarah," she said softly. "You can call me Sarah." Sarah. The way he said her name, careful and respectful, made something warm unfurl in her chest. "Get some rest. I'll have breakfast ready at sunrise." After he left, Sarah locked the door and sank onto the bed, pressing her face into the quilt to muffle the sobs that finally broke free. For the first time in months, she cried not from fear or hunger, but from relief so profound it hurt. Sarah woke to the smell of coffee and frying bacon. The sun was just cresting the canyon walls, painting everything in shades of rose and gold. She dressed quickly, in her only clean dress, a faded calico that had been mended so many times, the stitching looked like a map of her hardships, and made her way downstairs. Cole stood at the cast-iron stove, moving with surprising grace for such a large man. He'd shaved and changed into a clean shirt, his dark hair still damp from washing. The kitchen was warm and inviting, copper pots hanging from hooks, dried herbs bundled near the window. "Morning," he said without turning around. "Coffee's hot. How do you take your eggs?" "However they come," Sarah admitted. "I'm not picky." Cole glanced at her then, and something shifted in his expression. Understanding, maybe, or recognition. "Scrambled it is. Have a seat." As they ate breakfast in comfortable silence, Sarah observed him. His hands, which dwarfed the coffee cup, moved with care. He ate methodically, like a man who'd learned not to waste anything. When he caught her watching, he didn't look away or make her feel ashamed of her curiosity. "I work the mine mornings till noon," Cole said, pushing his empty plate aside. "Afternoons, I handle the business side, assays, sales, payroll for my crew. I've got 5 men who work the deeper tunnels. They don't come to the house much, keep to their own quarters down by the mine entrance. But they're good men, respectful." "And you want me to manage the household?" Sarah said. "Cooking? Cleaning?" "That, and the books if you're willing. My accountant in Virginia City charges too much and skims off the top. I know he does, just can't prove it." Cole leaned back in his chair. "Your father said you had a head for numbers. Said you could spot a discrepancy from a mile away." "Papa taught me double-entry bookkeeping when I was 12, Sarah confirmed. "I helped him with the assay office records until—" she swallowed, hard. "Until the accident." "The cave-in wasn't his fault," Cole said quietly. "Bad timber. Everyone knew the Consolidated Mining Company was cutting corners. Ezra tried to warn them. They blamed him anyway." Bitterness crept into Sarah's voice. "Said he'd made errors in the assay reports, that he'd cleared unsafe tunnels. Blacklisted me from working anywhere in the mining offices. That's why your uncle could sell you like cattle," Cole said, anger threading through his words. "No other options. That didn't involve marrying Garrison or worse." Sarah met his eyes. "You saved me from that. I won't forget it." "I didn't do it for gratitude." Cole stood, collecting their plates. "I did it because it was right. Now, you want to see the office? I'll show you the books, explain what needs doing." For the next hour, Cole walked Sarah through his business operations. The mine produced silver ore of exceptional quality, which he sold directly to refineries, rather than going through the big mining companies. His operation was smaller than the industrial concerns that dominated Virginia City, but far more profitable per ton extracted. He was meticulous with his records, or tried to be, but clearly math wasn't his strength. "These columns don't balance," Sarah said, running her finger down a ledger page. "You're showing $300 less revenue than you should have based on the tonnage sold." Cole leaned over her shoulder to look, close enough that she could smell sage and clean sweat. "Where?" Sarah pointed to the discrepancies, explaining the error. As she spoke, she felt his attention on her face rather than the numbers, and her cheeks warmed. When she glanced up, their eyes met, and Cole quickly straightened, putting distance between them. "I'll leave you to it," he said, his voice slightly rough. "Holler if you need anything." After he left, Sarah pressed her cool hands to her flushed cheeks. What was wrong with her? Cole Brennan was her employer, nothing more. A man offering her honest work and safety. She couldn't afford to complicate that with whatever this flutter in her chest meant. She forced her attention back to the ledgers, losing herself in the familiar comfort of numbers and order. The first week passed in a rhythm that felt almost normal. Sarah woke before dawn, prepared breakfast for Cole and his crew, then spent mornings working on the books while Cole supervised the mine operations. Afternoons were for household tasks, laundry, mending, tending the neglected garden. Cole had been right about the isolation. The nearest neighbor was 2 miles away, and Virginia City might as well have been another world entirely. But Sarah didn't mind the solitude. After months of dodging grabbing hands in boarding houses and avoiding Garrison's increasingly aggressive marriage proposals, the peace of Gold Hill felt like a benediction. Cole kept his word about boundaries. He didn't enter her room, didn't stand too close, didn't make demands beyond the work they'd agreed upon. Yet Sarah found herself increasingly aware of him, the way his shirt pulled across his shoulders when he split firewood, the rare smile that transformed his severe features, the gentleness in his voice when he spoke to the horses. One afternoon, while Sarah was hanging laundry, she heard gunshots from beyond the house. Her heart lurched. She grabbed her father's old pistol. Cole had returned it to her that first day, along with the gun belt, and ran toward the sound. She found Cole at a makeshift shooting range he'd set up near the canyon wall. Tin cans lined a fallen log, and he was methodically shooting them off with a rifle. "Everything all right?" Sarah called out, lowering her weapon. Cole turned, eyebrows raised when he saw her armed stance. "Fine. Just practicing. Didn't mean to alarm you." His gaze traveled over her, taking in the gun belt cinched around her waist, the ready competence in how she held the pistol. "Your father taught you well." He said a woman alone needed to know how to protect herself. Sarah approached the shooting range, said the West was hard on people who couldn't defend what was theirs. Smart man. Cole reloaded the rifle. "You want to show me these 25-pace rattlesnake shots?" Sarah smiled, a real smile, the first in longer than she could remember. "Set up the targets." What followed was an hour of shooting that felt like play, like freedom. Cole was an excellent marksman, steady and precise, but Sarah matched him shot for shot. When she hit a can he'd placed at an almost impossible distance, Cole laughed, a sound so unexpected and rich it made her chest ache. "I'll be damned," he said, shaking his head. "You weren't exaggerating." "Papa never let me exaggerate." Sarah reloaded her pistol with practiced ease, said honesty was the only currency that mattered in the end. Cole's expression grew serious. "He was right about that too." He hesitated, then asked, "You miss him?" "Every day." Sarah's throat tightened. "He was all I had. When he died, I felt like I'd been cut loose from everything that mattered." "I know that feeling," Cole said quietly. He was silent for a long moment, staring at the distant canyon walls. "I had a wife, Mary, and a daughter, Rebecca. She was 3 years old." Sarah's breath caught. Cole never spoke of his past, never mentioned why a prosperous man lived alone in such isolation. "Cholera outbreak, 5 years ago," Cole continued, his voice flat with old grief. "I was working a claim in California. By the time I got word and made it back to St. Louis, they were already buried. I didn't even get to say goodbye." "Cole?" Sarah reached out instinctively, her hand covering his on the rifle. "I'm so sorry." He looked down at their joined hands, and Sarah felt the tremor that ran through him. "I swore I wouldn't let anyone close again, wouldn't risk that kind of pain." His storm-gray eyes met hers. "But you make that difficult, Sarah Mitchell." Her heart hammered against her ribs. "I don't mean to." "I know." Cole gently extracted his hand from hers, but not before giving her fingers a quick squeeze. "It's not your fault. You make this place feel less empty. Make me remember what it was like to have someone to talk to share meals with, to—" He stopped himself, jaw clenching. "I should get back to work." As he walked away, Sarah stood frozen, her hands still warm from his touch. She understood now why Cole had been so careful. so respectful of boundaries. He wasn't just being honorable. He was protecting himself from the possibility of loss. But knowing that didn't stop the warmth spreading through her chest or the way her eyes followed him back to the mine entrance. 2 weeks into her employment, Sarah was working in the office when she heard raised voices outside. She looked out the window to see 3 men on horseback confronting Cole near the mine entrance. Even from a distance, she recognized the tall, thin figure of Reginald Garrison, flanked by 2 hired guns. Sarah's blood went cold. She grabbed her pistol and headed outside, keeping to the shadows of the porch. "The map belongs to me," Garrison was saying, his voice carrying across the yard. "Mitchell's daughter had no right to trade it." "The map was hers to trade," Cole replied, his stance relaxed but ready. Sarah had learned to read his body language. He was preparing for violence. "And this conversation is over. Get off my property. You don't understand who you're dealing with, Brennan." Garrison's smile was razor sharp. "I have backing from the Consolidated Mining Company. They want that silver vein. You're just one man with a small operation. You can't fight us all. Try me." The 2 hired guns reached for their weapons. Sarah stepped into view, her pistol aimed steady at the nearest one. "I wouldn't," she said calmly. "My first bullet goes through your gun hand before you." One moment he was standing still. The next his fist connected with Garrison's jaw, sending the thin man sprawling from his horse into the dust. The hired guns drew their weapons, but Sarah fired a warning shot that kicked up dirt between the horse's hooves, making them dance nervously. "Next one's not a warning," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Cole had his own gun out now, aimed at the hired men. "You've got 10 seconds to collect your employer and leave." After that, I stopped being polite. Garrison climbed to his feet, spitting blood. "This isn't over, Brennan. That silver vein is worth millions. You think the mining company will let some nobody claim it?" "I think you should worry about your own hide," Cole said coldly. "Because if you come back here, if you so much as look at Sarah wrong, I'll make sure you regret it." That's not a threat. It's a promise. The hired guns helps Garrison back onto his horse. As they rode away, Garrison called back. "You're protecting a fraud, Brennan. That map was obtained through false pretenses. When the law hears about this—" "The law can talk to me," Cole interrupted. "Now get gone before I change my mind about shooting you." After they disappeared over the ridge, Cole turned to Sarah. His expression was thunderous. "You shouldn't have come out here. If shooting started, you'd have been outnumbered 3-1, Sarah shot back, her adrenaline making her bold. "I wasn't going to stand by and watch them kill you. That's not your responsibility. And saving me from Garrison was yours?" Sarah's hands were shaking now, the aftermath of fear catching up. "You took my father's map, gave me work and safety. Did you think I'd let someone hurt you for that?" Cole closed the distance between them in 2 strides, his hands gripping her shoulders. "Listen to me. Garrison's dangerous. He has the mining company's resources behind him. I can handle myself, but you—" His voice cracked slightly. "You could have been killed. So could you," Sarah whispered. Up close, she could see the fear in his eyes, the way his chest heaved with emotion he was barely containing. "Don't ask me to hide while you face danger alone. I won't do it." For a long moment, they stared at each other. Then Cole's hand came up to cup her face, his thumb brushing across her cheekbone with heartbreaking gentleness. "Stubborn woman," he murmured. "Stubborn man," she replied, her voice unsteady. Cole's gaze dropped to her lips, and Sarah's breath caught. She saw the moment he made his decision, saw him start to lean down, and then he released her abruptly, stepping back. "We should get inside. Garrison might circle back with more men." Sarah wanted to scream in frustration, but she nodded, following him into the house, her face still burning where he'd touched her. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. The confrontation with Garrison had shaken her more than she wanted to admit. Not because of the danger. She'd grown up in mining country and knew violence was always lurking. But because of Cole's reaction, the raw fear in his eyes when he'd thought she might be hurt, the tenderness in his touch despite his anger. He cared for her, maybe as much as she was beginning to care for him. She got out of bed, pulling a shawl around her shoulders, and padded downstairs for water. The house was dark, but lamplight spilled from under the office door. Sarah knocked softly. "Come in," Cole's voice called. She found him at the desk, the mining map spread before him. A bottle of whiskey at his elbow. He looked up when she entered, and something flickered across his face. Pleasure at seeing her, quickly masked. "Can't sleep either?" he asked. "Keep thinking about Garrison," Sarah admitted. "About what he said. The mining company really wants that silver vein." "It's one of the richest strikes in Nevada territory," Cole said. "Your father discovered it by accident while surveying for another claim. He knew if the big companies found out, they'd find a way to steal it. That's why he made the map so cryptic, why he asked me to protect you if anything happened to him." Sarah approached the desk, studying the map. Her father's handwriting covered it. Notes, measurements, landmarks. "He was going to file the claim in my name," she said softly. "He told me once that if he died, I'd inherit the silver mine, that it would be my security." "That's exactly what he wanted," Cole confirmed. "But you can't file a claim without a stake, without money to work the vein. Garrison knew that. He was planning to force you into marriage, take the map, and file in his own name. Instead, I traded it to you." Sarah met Cole's eyes. "Which means legally you own the claim now." "Legally? Yes." Cole stood, moving around the desk to stand before her. "But morally, that silver belongs to you. Your father died finding it. You're Ezra Mitchell's heir." "Then why did you take the map?" Sarah asked. "You could have just given me money, helped me get to California or somewhere safe." Cole was quiet for a long moment. "Because I made a promise to your father. But also," he hesitated, then continued, "because from the moment I saw you standing outside that saloon, trying to hold on to your dignity while those men treated you like property, I wanted to protect you. Not out of pity. Out of—" He stopped himself. "Out of what?" Sarah's heart was racing. "Out of recognition," Cole finished softly. "I saw myself in you. The person I was 5 years ago, after Mary and Rebecca died. Alone, broken, trying to survive on scraps of hope." His hand came up to touch her face again, that same devastating gentleness. "You deserved better than what those men would have given you." "And you?" Sarah asked, her voice barely a whisper. "What do you give me?" "Hopefully a choice," Cole said. "The silver vein is worth millions, Sarah. Enough for you to live anywhere, do anything. You could go to San Francisco, New York, buy a house, start a business. You'd never have to depend on anyone again. Is that what you want?" Sarah's throat was tight. "For me to leave? No." The word was torn from him. "God help me, no. I want you to stay. I want—" He closed his eyes briefly, as if the admission cost him. "I want to wake up and hear you singing while you cook breakfast. I want to see you in the garden. Dirt on your hands and sunlight in your hair. I want to teach you to ride like an outlaw and shoot like a gunfighter. I want to come home at the end of the day to someone who sees me, really sees me, not just the money or the mine. Sarah's breath hitched. Cole, but I won't trap you here, he continued fiercely. Won't make you feel like you owe me anything. You're not property, Sarah. You're a person with your own dreams, your own life to live. So I'm giving you a choice. We can stake that claim in your name, sell the silver, split the profits. You take your share and go wherever you want. Or, he swallowed hard, or you stay, work beside me as a partner, build something here. As a partner, Sarah repeated slowly. You mean as an employee? I mean as whatever you want to be. Cole's hands framed her face now, his touch achingly tender. Employee, partner, friend. More than friend, if you'd ever consider. He shook his head. I'm doing this badly. I haven't courted anyone in a decade. I don't even know if you'd want. Sarah kissed him, stood on her toes, wrapped her arms around his neck, and pressed her lips to his. For one heartbeat, Cole was frozen in shock. Then he made a sound low in his throat and kissed her back, his arms coming around her waist to pull her close. It was nothing like the fumbling, painful kisses Garrison had forced on her before she'd escaped. This was warmth and safety and belonging. Cole kissed her like she was precious, like he was afraid she might disappear. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Sarah saw tears in his storm-gray eyes. I choose you, she whispered. Not the money, not a new life somewhere else. You, this, us. Sarah. Her name on his lips sounded like a prayer. I'll die before I hurt you, before I let anyone hurt you. You understand that? I understand. She touched his face, feeling the rough stubble, the warmth of his skin. But you have to understand something too. I'm not fragile. I'm not something that needs to be kept in glass and protected from the world. I'm Ezra Mitchell's daughter. I've survived things that would break most people. So if we do this, if we build something together, it's as equals, partners in everything. A smile spread across Cole's face, transforming him from severe to boyishly hopeful. Partners in everything, he agreed. Starting with that silver claim, we file it tomorrow in both our names, joint ownership. And the house? Sarah asked, her heart full to bursting. The mine? This life you've built? Ours, Cole said simply. If you'll have it, have me. Sarah kissed him again, deeper this time, pouring everything she felt into it, gratitude and hope, and a love so new it scared her. When they finally separated, Cole rested his forehead against hers, both of them smiling like fools. I should warn you, Sarah said softly. I snore. Cole laughed, that rich sound she'd only heard once before. I wake up at dawn, talking to myself. We'll be quite a pair. The most prosperous miner in Gold Hill, and the daughter of a disgraced assayer, Sarah mused. They'll have stories about us. Let them talk. Cole tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. As long as you're beside me, I don't care what anyone says. The next 3 months were the happiest Sarah had ever known. She and Cole filed the silver claim jointly, and the mine proved even more productive than her father's surveys suggested. The Consolidated Mining Company tried to challenge the claim, but Cole's lawyers, the best money could buy, shut down their efforts. Garrison, furious at losing both Sarah and the silver vein, spread rumors about her character throughout Virginia City. Sarah weathered the gossip with her head high, secure in the knowledge that the people who mattered knew the truth. Cole taught her to ride, not side saddle like a lady, but astride like a cowboy. and they spent Sunday afternoons exploring the canyons around Gold Hill. He showed her his favorite places, a hidden spring where wildflowers grew in defiant splashes of color, an overlook where you could see 3 territories on a clear day, a cave system that sparkled with quartz crystals. In return, Sarah brought life to his home. She planted more vegetables, added curtains to the windows, filled the rooms with light and laughter. The mine workers started taking their meals at the house sometimes, drawn by Sarah's cooking and the warmth she created. But it was the nights Sarah treasured most. After dinner, she and Cole would sit on the porch, watching the stars emerge. They talked about everything. His life before Mary and Rebecca, her childhood helping her father with assays, their dreams for the future. Sometimes they didn't talk at all, just sat close together, his arm around her shoulders, her head on his chest, listening to the coyotes sing. Cole courted her properly despite their isolation. He brought her wildflowers from his rides, carved her a jewelry box from pine wood, wrote her clumsy but heartfelt poetry that made her laugh and cry at the same time. When he finally kissed her again, weeks after that first kiss in the office, it was with asking permission first, treating her like she was made of spun glass, despite her protests that she wasn't fragile. "Go slow," Sarah whispered one night, when his kisses grew heated, his hands trembling against her waist. "It hurts to want you this much." Cole pulled back immediately, concern flooding his features. "Are you afraid of me?" "No." Sarah caught his face in her hands, making him look at her. "I'm afraid of how much I love you, of losing this. Losing you. You won't." Cole's voice was fierce. "I'm not going anywhere. I'm yours, Sarah, for as long as you'll have me." "Forever, then," she said simply. "I'll have you forever." The trouble came on a Tuesday morning in late September. Sarah was working in the garden when she heard horses approaching. She looked up to see not Garrison this time, but a woman, blonde, beautiful, expensively dressed, riding into the yard, accompanied by 2 men in city clothes. Sarah's stomach nodded. She'd learned to trust her instincts about danger, and every nerve was screaming warning. "Can I help you?" she called, wiping dirt from her hands. The woman dismounted gracefully, her blue eyes taking in Sarah's plain dress and work-roughened hands with obvious disdain. "I'm looking for Cole Brennan. I'm told he lives here." "He's at the mine," Sarah said carefully. "Who's asking?" "Catherine Brennan," the woman said, and Sarah's world tilted. Cole's wife. The words hit like a physical blow. Sarah felt the blood drain from her face. "That's impossible. Cole's wife died 5 years ago." "Did he tell you that?" Catherine's laugh was brittle. "How convenient. No, I'm very much alive, and I've come to collect my husband." Sarah's mind raced. Cole had said Mary died in a cholera outbreak. Had he lied? But why? Nothing made sense. "I don't believe you," Sarah said, her voice steadier than she felt. "Cole would never." "Never what? Lie?" Catherine pulled papers from her saddlebag. "Here's our marriage certificate. St. Louis, 1868. Still perfectly legal. And here," she produced a photograph, "is our wedding portrait." Sarah stared at the image. A younger Cole, clean-shaven and smiling, his arm around a blonde woman in a wedding dress. Her heart cracked like river ice in spring. "Where have you been for 5 years?" Sarah demanded. "If you're really his wife, why did everyone think you were dead?" "Because I left." Catherine's expression was cold. Cole was boring. A clerk's salary, a tiny apartment, dreams of going west to mine for silver. "I wanted more. So I ran away with a railroad magnate, told everyone I died so Cole couldn't come looking for me. And now? Sarah's hands were fists at her sides. Now the magnet has tired of me, and I've heard my dear husband struck it rich. Catherine smiled, sharp as a knife. So I've come home to claim what's mine. The house, the money, all of it. It's my legal right as his wife. Cole would never take you back, Sarah said, but doubt gnawed at her. Could a man hide such a massive lie? Could she have been so wrong about him? Oh, I don't need him to take me back romantically, Catherine said. I just need him to acknowledge our marriage. Everything he owns becomes community property. I can force a sale, take half, and leave him with nothing. Or he can give me what I want, and I'll grant him a divorce. Her eyes traveled over Sarah with cruel amusement. Were you warming his bed, dear? Playing house? How tragic. But you're just the help, aren't you? The hired girl, easily replaced. Sarah heard footsteps behind her. She turned to see Cole emerging from the mine tunnel, covered in dust. His expression shifting from confusion to absolute horror as he recognized the woman in his yard. Catherine. The name fell from his lips like a curse. You're supposed to be dead. Disappointed? Catherine approached him with a predatory smile. Hello, husband. Cole's gaze cut to Sarah, and she saw panic there. Sarah, this isn't what? Catherine interrupted. The truth? That you're still married? That everything here legally belongs to both of us? You faked your death, Cole said flatly. You ran away with Richardson, left me and Rebecca. His voice broke. Rebecca died calling for you. For the first time, Catherine's composure cracked. Rebecca? Our daughter died in the cholera outbreak. Cole's words were sharp as glass shards, the one you weren't there to see through. Mary, he gestured at Catherine, abandoned us. Legally. You're dead. You can't just reappear and claim, but I can, Catherine said, recovering her poise. Unless you want to explain to a judge why you let everyone think I was dead instead of reporting me missing. Why you never tried to find me. A good lawyer could make it look very suspicious, Cole. Like maybe you wanted me dead. Sarah watched Cole's face drain of color. He turned to her, desperation in his eyes. Sarah, I swear to you, I thought she was dead. I thought they both died. When the cholera came through, I got a telegram saying Mary and Rebecca. He stopped, understanding dawning. The telegram, it said Mary, not Catherine. I didn't know she'd changed her name. I got tired of Catherine, his wife said airily. Mary sounded more sophisticated. Richardson preferred it. Cole, you let me believe you were dead. Cole's voice was raw with old pain. You let me grieve you. Let me think our daughter died alone without either parent there. Oh, stop being dramatic, Catherine snapped. I'm here now, and I want what's owed to me. Half of everything. The mine profits, the house value, the silver claim. My lawyers, she gestured to the men who'd accompanied her, have already drawn up the paperwork. You can sign willingly, or we can go to court. Either way, I win. Sarah felt like she was drowning. Everything she'd built with Cole, everything they'd planned, it was crumbling like sand. The silver claim, she said numbly. It's in both our names, Cole's and mine, joint ownership. Catherine's eyes narrowed. A convenient arrangement. My lawyers will argue you coerced my husband while he was emotionally vulnerable. That the claim rightfully belongs to the marital estate. The hell it does, Cole snarled. That silver was Ezra Mitchell's discovery, Sarah's inheritance. You have no claim to it. Then give me half of everything else, Catherine countered. The mine profits from the last 6 months. the house, your personal assets, or I'll tie you up in court for years. By the time the lawyers are done, there'll be nothing left for anyone." Sarah watched Cole's shoulders sag with defeat. He was trapped, and they both knew it. If they fought Catherine in court, the legal fees and delays would bankrupt them. The mine would sit idle while lawyers argued. Everything they'd built would dissolve. "There has to be another way," Sarah said desperately. "Cole, tell her. Tell me what." Catherine's smile was vicious. "That he loves you? That you're more than just the hired help? Please. Men like Cole don't leave their wives for girls who sell themselves for mining maps." "That's enough." Cole's voice cut through the air like a whip. "You speak to Sarah with respect, or so help me. Or what? You'll kill me?" Catherine laughed. "And prove you're a violent man who probably did want me dead all along? Go ahead, Cole. Add murder to bigamy." "Bigamy?" Sarah's voice cracked on the word. Cole turned to her, and Sarah saw her own heartbreak reflected in his eyes. "I didn't know," he said desperately. "Sarah, I swear on everything I hold sacred. I thought she was dead. I thought I was free. I would never have." His voice broke. "I would never have let you fall in love with me if I knew." "But you did know," Catherine said softly, poisonously. "Somewhere deep down, you had to know I wasn't really dead. You just didn't want to look too closely. Didn't want to find out the truth, because then you couldn't have your pretty little replacement family." "Get out," Sarah whispered. "Just get out." "Sarah." Cole reached for her. She flinched away from his touch. "Don't. I can't. I need to think." "We'll give you until tomorrow," Catherine announced, clearly pleased with the devastation she'd wrought. "Sign the papers, Cole, and I'll give you your divorce. Refuse, and I'll make sure you lose everything, including her." She gestured dismissively at Sarah. After Catherine and her lawyers left, Sarah stood frozen in the yard, unable to process the magnitude of what had just happened. Cole approached her carefully, like she was a spooked horse. "Please," he said hoarsely, "please let me explain." "Explain what?" Sarah finally looked at him, tears streaming down her face. "That you lied? That everything between us is—" She couldn't finish the sentence. "Nothing between us is a lie," Cole said fiercely. "I love you. That's real. The only real thing in my life right now. But you're married." The words tasted like ash. "You have a wife, which makes me what? Your mistress? The other woman?" "No," Cole's hands clenched into fists. "Catherine left me. Faked her death. She has no moral claim, but she has a legal one." Sarah hugged herself, feeling like she might shatter. "And I can't. Cole, I grew up watching my mother wait for my father to leave his wife. Watching her accept scraps of affection, knowing she'd never have the full measure of his love. I swore I'd never be that woman. Never settle for less than everything." "You have everything," Cole said desperately. "All of me. My heart, my future." "But not your name," Sarah interrupted. "Not legally, not in any way that matters to the world." She backed toward the house. "I need time. I need to think about this." "Sarah, please." "Tomorrow," she said, her voice breaking. "We'll decide tomorrow." She fled into the house, locking herself in her room, while Cole stood helplessly in the yard, his world collapsing around him. Sarah didn't sleep. She sat by the window, watching the stars wheel overhead, thinking about impossible choices. She loved Cole with a ferocity that terrified her. But she'd also sworn she'd never be dependent on a man's whims, never again be property to be traded or claimed. If Cole signed Catherine's papers, he'd be financially ruined. The mine would barely survive losing half its value. They'd be back to scraping by, All their dreams of expansion and security gone. If he refused, years of legal battles awaited. Even if they eventually won, the cost would destroy them. There was no good option, no happy ending. Unless… Sarah sat up straighter as an idea formed. A dangerous, reckless idea that made her heart race. She grabbed a shawl and left her room. Descending to the office where Cole sat surrounded by papers, his head in his hands. "I have a solution," Sarah announced. Cole looked up, hope and desperation warring on his haggard face. "Anything. Tell me." "The silver claim is in both our names," Sarah said, her mind working through the logistics. "Catherine has no legal claim to it because it was filed before she reappeared. That mine is worth millions, Cole. More than enough to pay her off." "I won't take your inheritance," Cole said immediately. "That silver was your father's legacy." "And he wanted me to use it to build a life," Sarah interrupted. "A real life, not just survival. With you. So here's what we do. We offer Catherine a settlement. A lump sum, say. Then we file a new claim on the silver vein. Together, as partners, as husband and wife, once you're free." "You'd do that?" Cole stood, crossing to her. "Use your inheritance to buy my freedom?" "I'm not buying your freedom," Sarah corrected. "I'm investing in our future. The silver is worth millions. We pay off Catherine, we still have enough left to expand the mine, buy more land, build something that lasts." She met his eyes. "Unless you don't want that anymore. Unless knowing you were legally married this whole time changes." Cole kissed her, hard and desperate. When they broke apart, both were crying. "It changes nothing," he said fiercely. "You're the woman I choose, the only woman I want. If you're willing to do this, if you're sure." "I'm sure," Sarah said. "I love you, Cole Brennan. I love the man you are, the life we're building. I'm not letting Catherine Brennan destroy that. We'll pay her off, get you free, and then," she smiled through her tears, "then you're gonna marry me properly. Church, witnesses, the works. The biggest wedding Nevada territory has ever seen," Cole promised. He framed her face with his hands, his touch reverent. "You're saving me, again." "We're saving each other," Sarah corrected. "That's what partners do." The next morning, Cole and Sarah presented their offer to Catherine and her lawyers. The woman's eyes widened at the sum. $500,000, more money than she'd ever dreamed of having. "In exchange," Cole's lawyer stated, "you sign a complete release of all marital claims, agree to a Nevada divorce, and leave the territory within 30 days. Catherine's lawyer tried to negotiate for more, but she cut him off. "I'll take it," she said. "Where do I sign?" The papers were drawn up and executed within hours. Catherine took her money and left that same day, boarding a train for San Francisco without a backward glance. Cole stood, watching the dust from her carriage settle, Sarah at his side. "It's done," he said quietly. 3 months until the divorce is final, and then…" He turned to face her, taking both her hands. "Then I'll be free to do this properly." He knelt right there in the dusty yard, pulling a ring from his pocket. It was simple. A silver band with a single small diamond. Nothing like the flashy jewelry Catherine had favored. "I bought this weeks ago," Cole admitted, "before Catherine showed up. Was planning to ask you on Christmas. Seemed like good timing." He smiled up at her. "But I can't wait that long. Sarah Mitchell, you're the strongest, bravest, most remarkable woman I've ever known. You make me want to be better. You make me believe in futures worth building. Will you marry me? Not in 3 months when the divorce is final, but now, today, in every way that matters, in our hearts and before God, and then again legally when the papers come through." Sarah's tears fell freely now. Yes, she whispered. Yes to all of it. Cole slipped the ring on her finger and stood, sweeping her into his arms. Then let's go find a preacher. They rode to Virginia City that afternoon, not caring about the scandal or the gossip. At a small church on the edge of town, they found a minister willing to perform a blessing ceremony. Not legally binding yet, but real in every spiritual sense. I, Cole Brennan, take you, Sarah Mitchell, to be my partner in all things, Cole said, his voice steady despite his tears. I promise to protect you, cherish you, and build a life worthy of your faith in me. From this day forward, you're not alone. We face everything together. I, Sarah Mitchell, take you, Cole Brennan, as my partner and my home, Sarah replied. I promise to stand beside you, to share your burdens and your joys. From this day forward, we're family, together. The minister blessed their union, and Cole kissed Sarah like she was his whole world, because she was. 3 months later, when the divorce papers came through, they married again, this time legally, with the mine workers as witnesses and a celebration that lasted 2 days. But Sarah always considered that first ceremony in the small church the real beginning. The moment she chose Cole and he chose her, both of them all in, no reservations. 5 years later, Sarah stood in the yard of the house they'd expanded, watching their 3-year-old son chase chickens while Cole held their infant daughter. The silver mine had made them wealthy beyond imagination, but they'd stayed in Gold Hill, building a life rooted in the land they loved. "Mama," little Ezra called, named for his grandfather, "the chickens won't play with me." "Because you keep chasing them," Sarah called back, laughing. "Try sitting still. Let them come to you." Cole came up behind her, wrapping his free arm around her waist. "He gets that from you, the stubborn determination." "And the reckless courage he gets from you," Sarah countered, leaning back against her husband's solid warmth. "I saw him trying to ride that horse yesterday, the one you said was too big for him." "He's a Brennan," Cole said with pride. "And a Mitchell. That boy's going to move mountains." Sarah turned in his arms to look at him, this man who'd saved her with respect instead of pity, who'd given her partnership instead of protection, who'd trusted her with his heart and his future. They'd built something beautiful together, something that would last. "Thank you," she said softly. "For what?" "For seeing me, that day outside the saloon, for seeing a person worth saving instead of property to be used." Cole kissed her forehead. "Gold isn't what we need here. You are," he said, echoing words he'd spoken that first day. "That's still true, will always be true." Sarah smiled. "Together," she said, the word that had become their touchstone. "Together," Cole agreed, and kissed her while their children played and the sun set gold over the mountains they called home. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'd love to know where you're enjoying this tale from. Are you listening at home, during your commute, or perhaps while working? Please subscribe to the From Wild West channel and share your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think of Sarah and Cole's journey? Your feedback means the world to us.